Sir, you mentioned that we are moving to a one nation, one tax concept, and this is the best possible solution that is possible in the current circumstances. Based on your assessment of the GST law, how close or how far are we from one nation, one market, one tax concept?
With regard to the manufactured goods, the concept of one nation, one tax is really coming true. And whatever was promised by the Honorable Finance Minister or the Council is actually being implemented through the legislation. I'm happy about it.
Right. If you see, there are two views which are coming out. One, especially from the political opposition parties, that there will be a chaos and it will affect the common man stroke or the SMEs. Whereas on the other hand, any transformation of this scale will not be without disruptions. According to you, how the industry and particularly the small businesses should tackle GST, particularly in the next fortnight?
I think the question has been discussed in a slightly different context. Today, you have 5 different rates of the goods and only 5 different rates for the services. And it looks chaotic, to be fair to the criticism. But we must understand the psychology and the philosophy of the government. GST is indirect tax on commodities and services. It is obviously a regressive tax. It falls equally on all the people who are consumers. Now, in a developed country, you can have a single rate and keep a simple GST rate, maybe one or two slabs. But in a country where you have diversity of people, the capacity to pay, the consumption pattern, demographic divide, to have a single rate will be absolutely impossible for any political party, and I totally agree with them. It is a small price we have to pay for having different slab system or rate systems in order to ensure that the poor man is not burdened with higher taxes. And therefore, I would say that even though it complicated the matter, it is not as simple as originally thought, but it serves the purpose because all along, last 60-70 years, the government always used the tax system as a tool in their hand to achieve the socio-economic objective. They have not abandoned that philosophy.
Right.
In the altar of single rate. And therefore, I would say that having multiple rates is a small price to pay, but underlying concept of available credit across the country is fully fulfilled. So therefore, if we are going to enjoy the credit of taxes paid in one state while reselling the good another state, whether it is 5%, 0%, or 12%, or 18%, then that particular commodity is going to attract the same rate throughout the country. It is heartening to note that the states are not charging different rates as they used to do earlier. There is a discipline, there is a harmony of charging the same rate of tax for the same commodity across the country. Therefore, once we decide the correct classification, the rate for a commodity, then it is frozen and that is applicable across the state, across the countries. So that is one of the important phenomena that I have seen. And therefore, I would not criticize the government for having multiple rates. But I will, on the other hand, I will congratulate them for, in spite of these multiple rates, they have kept the uniform rate throughout the country. That is the best admiration I must have.
Right. Sir, if you look at the preparedness of the business and they will require time to sort of settle down. There will be hiccups in the journey as businesses are in the process of implementing GST, which becomes live from tomorrow. What will be your advice to the businesses for particularly next 2 weeks or 2 to 3 weeks, when they will be doing sort of first business transactions applying GST? What are the 2 or 3 things according to you are the most critical that businesses should observe in this period of next 2 to 3 weeks?
Okay, thank you. Let us say the government decides to implement it from 1st September. It was 1st July, let us assume. Do you think all the industry is going to be ready? There will be still some people who are not ready because of various reasons: availability, non-availability of the software, non-availability of the consultant, non-availability of the understanding the law, etc., etc. So I think at some point of time when the government decides, and they have been telling all along, we tried to them, they were saying 1st July for a long time. We never took them seriously, but I think they have come very seriously. So therefore, I think for a month, say 60 to 70%, even less than 50% of the trade is not fully ready. But what is happening is the Statement Revenue Secretary says that we are not likely to take harsh steps against people in the initial stages for non-compliance, because they also know that there is a problem in the preparedness. So here is a government which is coming forward to condone those type of minor lapses as far as the compliance is concerned. It is effort for the trade to pull up their socks and comply with it as early as possible.
Right. Sir, you've seen the transition of the indirect tax regime take place in this country over last 3 decades, including especially the VAT regime change in 2002-3. Any 1 or 2 similarities and between the challenges that were faced in VAT transition, where the experience will now be useful in the GST transition?
I tell you, the present system of GST is a very unique one. The VAT introduction was a very limited thing for the intrastate transactions, not for interstate. And basically, what happened was single point transaction was converted into multi-point transaction there. I think nothing beyond that. But the concept now we are talking about is very, very different. And therefore, I don't want to draw a parallel and then what exactly happened there, what will happen now, etc.
Right.
This is what is down there is unique. And that's what must look at separately.
Right. Sir, if we see the taxes in general and indirect taxes in particular, we've had a history of long drawn litigation which would continue at least say for 15-20 years. In one of your recent interviews, in the context of GST, you mentioned that the GST litigation will settle down in another 5 to 10 years. Judicial precedents will be there, people will adjust and wrinkles will be ironed out. What would be your advice to the taxpayers to avoid the 2-decade litigation cycle under GST?
I think the first thing I should ask the trade is, assuming for a moment that the rate they think on a particular commodity is say 12%, and the government says no, it's not 12%, it's 18%. You can examine the correctness of the department stand vis-a-vis you. But if your customer can take that credit immediately, especially because industrial raw materials and components, I don't think there is any incentive to fight the matter. Unless the product is a consumer goods and the same rate is going to apply right up to the customer, and charging a higher rate by this officer as compared to a competitor being charged at a lower rate, that is going to be the problem where they have necessarily litigate. But if it is industrial raw material component parts, etc., which is not coming into the category of the consumer goods, the prices or the credit can be adjusted against at the subsequent manufacturing level. Probably it may not be worthwhile to fight the litigation, excepting them having entered a dialogue with them about the correctness of it. But beyond that, litigation may not be necessary. However, the commodity in question or consumer goods, they are necessarily litigate if we are convinced that the department shall be not correct. The second thing which will happen is regarding the credit. I feel in the future the major litigation will be available to inadmissibility of the credit where the department will go to deny. And that is going to directly increase the cost of production or the cost of the product. And therefore, I envisage the two types of litigation in the future. One in relation to the rate, the second in relation to the credit. And these two will be the dominant features of the litigation as far as the future is concerned, if the department is not coming forward to address these issues amicably.
Right. And sir, that brings me to my last question, and reflecting more on the state of the profession, particularly the GST. There are a lot of concepts that Indian GST has which are somewhat unique to India, but they also rely on the generally accepted principles on, for example, place of supply and so on. How do you see the state of the GST or indirect tax professionals into coming, in the coming 4 or 5 years? And do you think that GST also creates opportunities for the professionals internationally as well?
See, let us understand address the issue of the professionals into two categories, within India and outside India. As far as within India is concerned, if you look at the volume of the assessees who are going to pay the tax under the GST, I do agree with you, there requires tremendous amount of demand for quality consultants. When I say quality consultants who can understand the impact of this particular law as a whole, not in a piecemeal. And I must say at this point of time, this law is not simple. This GST law, whether it's central GST, state GST, IGST, etc., they are not simple. They are all couched in languages which are amenable to dual multiple interpretations. And as I would always say, as far as the tax law is concerned, there are two parts. One is the law part, other one is the compliance part. All along, as I see in this particular GST, pre-GST regime now is concerned, the assessees have been focusing more on the software and then the documentation, blah, blah, but they were focusing less on the law part. But if the understanding of the law is not correct, then the software development or the program can become flawed. Therefore, I would say that what is required is the proper understanding of the law part of it, the rate, the credit system, the transaction system, all those things will be properly understood. There are lots and lots of commonality or contradictions between sections. You have to iron out all those wrinkles. That itself is going to take time. But I agree with you, there is going to be a huge demand for the quality professionals in India. As far as the outside India is concerned, the professionals are concerned, wherever, say Canada, Europe or Australia or Malaysia, where some of the solutions, I won't say borrowed, but at least adapted from there, those people, when they come back here, the uniqueness of India being federal system, dual taxes here, plus multiple rate, plus value, plus this, etc. I think many of them may get bewildered what exactly is happening here. So I would say this is going to be a good opportunity for the local Indian consultants rather than for the foreign. If the law is like a WTO law, like custom valuation or anti-dumping law or IPR law, then the law is harmonized all over the world, then I think the foreign consultants can also play a major role. But since the GST law in India is not harmonized with any other country, but only through installation from them, the practicing this particular branch of law here from outside may pose a big challenge.
Right. No, let me rephrase. Do you think India can create and export GST professionals to the world?
Oh, I think it is like Indian roads. If you can drive safely in the road, I think you can drive anywhere in the world. So if we can handle the Indian GST law very well, I think we can handle other laws very well.
Well said.
I'm sure about that.
Right. Thank you so much, Mr. Lakshmikumaran, for speaking to Tax Sutra. Thank you so much. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.